Now this might sound just a little bit destructive, but out of every type of game out there, my favourite is shooting. So in this video I put together a list of 10 of the best shooting games you can get on Android in 2016. So the first game is Cartel Kings, and let's just say it should have way more downloads than it actually does. It feels exactly like an arcade game done right. There's a huge sprawling city to explore, and your goal is to basically control it. So you infiltrate different areas, defeating bosses, overtaking different gangs, and you use the money you earn to make buildings which exert your control. It also helps that the game looks amazing and the shooting mechanics are awesome. It's got a cover-based style of shooting which really feels like it was made to work on mobile, and its simple art style means it runs well even on lower end devices. Number 2 is Mrwhosetheboss, and this is one of the newer games on the list. It's again kind of got an arcadey feel to it, kind of feels a little bit like a Metal Slug game. You're on a boat, and the controls are super simple. You simply hold down on the screen to accelerate, and you let go to slow down. You travel through a huge variety of different levels, picking up weapons, fighting harder and harder enemies, and some very tough bosses. And Mrwhosetheboss is just so fast paced. I mean, the rate at which you see new weapons, new enemies, new upgrades means that this is one of the easiest ways to spend a couple of hours. You'll be glad to know that there is a barrage of loot for you to try and collect and upgrade to. But unfortunately, like with most free-to-play games, the grind starts to get tricky and you are incentivized to make real-life purchases. So I'm not a huge fan of top-down shooters. Never have been, probably never will be, but Air Attack 2 has just really impressed me. It's set in a World War II era, it's got missions, objectives, upgrades, but more important than anything, the gameplay and graphics of this game are top-notch. Enemies die with a pretty satisfying explosion, and the entire world is destructible. So as well as firing forwards and watching the enemies in the air, you also need to look at the ground and destroy as much as you can, and you can see the damage you make. The game also keeps things interesting by switching up the different modes, and you even go into a gunner mode where you get a first-person shooter experience. Number 4 is Gunstrike 2. And while it doesn't have the polish or the depth of some of the earlier games, it's just fun to play, and that's what really matters. It's a cover-based shooter, and your goal is to rack up as many points as you can by killing enemies, getting headshots, avoiding cameramen, and so on and so forth. The developers haven't exactly gone for a realistic look as such, but it looks nice nonetheless and runs smooth. And there's also a couple of interesting game modes thrown in. Now for one that probably 90% of you will have heard of. This is Modern Strike, and for many people it is the pinnacle of mobile FPS gaming. It's kind of like the Call of Duty for Android right now. It's got slick presentation, smooth graphics, and killer gameplay. This isn't some cheap knockoff. Guns feel powerful, and the company's clearly invested a fair bit in their servers because they're stable, there's no bugging, there's no people jumping from room to room, and it just feels really high quality. And just like any good shooter, there's a strong upgrade system, that incentive to keep you going. Winning battles gets you coins, which you then use to upgrade your weapon and unlock new ones. Standard stuff, but it's implemented really well. Next up is Tiny Troopers 2. And I genuinely went through a phase of about a whole week where I was just in hibernation playing this game. You're a commander and you've got control over one squad of troops, and the more a troop fights, the more it levels up. But the interesting thing about this game, what keeps things really tense, is that if a troop dies in battle, it's gone, finito, dead forever. You can use the money you've earned to make your current squad stronger, or you can hire out mercenaries to come and help you. Either way though, it's an awesome game. And then we have Critical Ops, which is kind of like a no-frills, no messing around online shooter. Within about 10 seconds of having downloaded the game, you could be in a match. It feels a bit more floaty, a little bit less realistic than games like Modern Strike, but at the same time it's harder. So I suppose in a sense this is kind of like a Call of Duty versus Counter-Strike situation. All upgrades are there as you'd expect, but the tree isn't exactly as detailed as with other titles. Nonetheless, the game is all about accessibility. So game number 8 is Rage Z. And to summarize, this is an online, multiplayer, co-op, zombie slaying adventure. What more could you ask for? Whilst you can tell that the game's production budget is a little bit less than games like Modern Strike, you can tell with the animations, you can tell from the menus, it's still a pretty decent looking game, and more importantly, is a blast to play. Literally. There's zombies to kill, leaderboards to chase, and weapons and equipment to unlock. Next up is Pig Bang, and I did feature this in Best Games of September 2016, but since then it's actually made significant progress. It's a hybrid of a shooter game with a tower defense genre, and it works so well. So well that I just can't understand why it's never been done before. It combines beautiful graphics, great gameplay mechanics and solid progression. There is so much depth here. Similar to advanced console games like Borderlands, weapons are assigned random attributes based on basically chance, and the number of power-ups to unlock is going to keep you going for quite some time. And the last game on this list is Mini Militar, and this is more of a love-hate kind of thing. On the face of it, it's pretty poorly designed. The servers are not exactly the most problem-free, the game's graphics seem a little bit simplistic, and it's even a little bit buggy, but it's still so much fun. You're thrown into an arena with up to 12 other people, and you just rage all-out war on each other, and it's hilarious. So guys, that brings us to the end of my favourite 10 shooting games. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks a lot for watching, it really means a lot to me. I'm Mrwhosetheboss, and I'm signing out.